We love what we do. We want to make sure that we can stay there and flourish, and having a union is going to provide that for us because it's a direct line to communicate our needs clearly and also work together and move forward with a solution.
Are you on? Which side are you on?
Autumn Sanchez is from the Sesame Workers Union Organizing Committee. Autumn, welcome to the Valley Labor Report. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I appreciate it.
Hey, how's it going? Also, it's Sancho. I'm so sorry.
Autumn Sancho. Sorry.
There you go. It's okay.
So Autumn, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. And it's a really exciting opportunity to learn more about this campaign. The campaign is obviously, the workers behind Sesame Street have unionized. Before we talk about the campaign and why you wanted to unionize, can you talk to us a little bit about what you and your coworkers do to make Sesame Street, the show, happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So just for context, the puppeteers and our writers for Sesame Street are already unionized. However, all the producers, right, the editors, the childhood education experts, and really the people behind the scenes that keep this show and this brand alive are those that are represented in our union. So yeah, those are a bunch of the folks. We also have facility staff, those who run our licensing departments, our theme parks. So yeah, our union's really a broad cross-section of a bunch of different folks that keep Sesame Street going.
And so why is it important to have, I think that once you explain it, it'll make sense. But, when people think about Sesame Street, they just think about, the writers and the puppeteers. And so why is it important to have like childhood education specialists on staff?
Yeah, because there's so much love that goes into Sesame Street, and there's so much thinking behind the scenes. We really carefully craft not only the show, but our video games, right? Our products to ensure that they are not only age appropriate, but that they're educational. Our mission at Sesame Workshop is to help kids grow smarter, stronger, and kinder. So essentially, like, there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes. Like, I think a great example is I help work on video games, and like something that we are very carefully considerate of is our colors, right? We want to ensure that like we can catch color blindness very early on. So we always position red and green when we're sorting, so that if a child can't sort red versus green, that's an indication that they might be colorblind. So yeah, essentially there's so much thinking and love behind everything that we do, and we need a union to support that. We need all of these workers to help keep it running.
Absolutely. And so what made you want to go into this line of work specifically?
I love helping people. And I think Workshop Sesame Street, it's just one of the best places to be. I don't know if you can tell, but I love it so much. A lot of the work that I do is really directly impacting kids that have been through, experiences, and making sure that they have resources that can help them through those. So I help run our websites, I help create video games and apps, and on our website, sesameworkshop.org, we have a multitude of free resources in English and Spanish, and these resources range from topics like grief, topics like divorce, all the way to, ABCs 1, 2, 3s. So yeah, I love helping people, and I think that really everyone who shows up to work at Sesame Workshop is there for the same reason. We're there just to make the world a little bit brighter and make sure that all kids everywhere have support.
And for folks who are listening on the radio, our guest has a big Sesame Street sign behind her, as well as a Bert puppet on the couch behind her. So definitely a fan of the work that she's doing, obviously. So, with all of that as kind of the backdrop, can you talk to us about how the campaign began? You and your coworkers are obviously kind of like mission driven. You love your job. And so a lot of people, when, especially in industries like yours, where there is such a focus on helping people and supporting people, I'm thinking specifically of like teachers and nurses. There are a lot of arguments about, well, you shouldn't, oh, it's selfish to think about bargaining for better wages, better working conditions, and things like that, because your job is to help people, and so why shouldn't you be, happy just with that? And so I'm curious, did you have to wrestle with that even within yourself as you started thinking about organizing, and just what was the kind of first thing that kicked it off?
Yeah, well, I think really an interesting point that was brought up during our campaign is like we take care of children everywhere. And like at the end of the day, we all want to go home and make sure we can take care of our kids, which is what a union will provide. It provides job security, it provides job protections. So I think it's just really important to ensure that like all the dedication and the hard work that we give to Sesame Workshop, that when we go home, we don't have to worry about whether or not what we're getting is fair. Our campaign was really born again out of like the love of the work that we do. It really began in the summer of 2023 with a small group of colleagues who kind of took a look around and said, like, we love our work, we love our coworkers, and we want to not only stay here but flourish. And so that really began our campaign, where we went around and had a lot of deep, meaningful discussions with our colleagues to kind of hear about their experiences. And really through that, we discovered that not everyone has the same experience at Sesame Workshop. There are a lot of colleagues that don't have equitable working conditions. And so we just feel really strongly that a union is going to not only protect us, but allow us to do our jobs to the best of our ability. Because it's just so important to ensure that we're being taken care of and that our families are being taken care of. Kind of some of the discrepancies that we uncovered are that, Sesame Workshop employs a lot of folks on contracts. And unfortunately, that can extend for up to 5 years sometimes, meaning that those workers don't get the same benefits as full-time staff members, yet they work the same hours, they do the same job responsibilities. So we're talking like contract workers don't get the same PTO, they don't get the same parental leave, they don't even get the same emails from our CEO. So it's really hard because you kind of feel like a second-class worker at a place where you want to feel like you belong. And again, like you can go home after you've worked a really hard day and, think about planning a wedding or think about building your family. So that was something we highlighted. We also really want to advocate for, job security. We're looking to advocate for more promotion transparency so that those who are at the workshop can continue to grow and stay. So yeah, at the end of the day, we love what we do and we want to make sure that we can stay there and flourish. And having a union is going to provide that for us because it's a direct line to management to, communicate our needs clearly and also work together and move forward with a solution.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
I want to underline a couple of things that you said there because I think they're really important. You mentioned that the campaign really started with a conversation in 2023, and
Yes.
we are almost halfway through 2025, and so we have been doing this union radio program. Both of us are union members, the hosts. We talk to union members and people who want to organize a union, and people get really, really discouraged when they have their first call with us and we kind of go through a game plan with make a rough kind of outline of what needs to happen next, and then the next 3 months don't go exactly how they wanted it to go, and then they're just like, oh well, there's no hope, right? And that's just, these things take a really, really long time, and here we are, you've just won your union election from a campaign that really started, it sounds like 2 years ago at least. And so
Yes.
For folks that are out there that are thinking about organizing or that are in the middle of a campaign or that would like to organize, these things take time, and don't get discouraged, right? And I also wanted to pull out another kind of similarity to conversations that we have in with workers in industries that are in many ways just totally, totally different from the work that you do, and yet the problems are so similar, right? So one of the big conversations that come out of like automotive plants with the UAW or UPS and the Teamsters is tiers. And you said it exactly, people who do the same job, work the same hours, and they are a second class of citizen, right? And so there are so many similar dynamics and stuff like that across industries, whether, you know, you're working with your hands or you're working on your computer. You know, there are so many kind of similarities that I think it's important to kind of underscore for folks who maybe see you know, a knowledge worker as like a different sort of animal than, you know, somebody who works in a factory, right? We have, obviously there are differences, you know, we're not going to try to deny that, but there are real similarities, and I think the similarities are the things that are way, way, way more important. And so that's, and it also, you know, the campaign began, it sounds like, in a very similar way to all other union campaigns. You know, there are problems in the workplace, and you as workers want to have a say in how those problems are addressed. And so working at Sesame Street, I would hope that, you know, Sesame Street is an employer that, you know, cares about their employees and the work that they're doing too. And so they would welcome an opportunity to have a collaborative solution with the people who make the product. Autumn, is that how management reacted to your campaign?
No, not at all. And
Wow.
I really share that same sentiment. Like, we went into this process, like, not wanting to hurt anyone's feelings. Like, we were really conscientious to deliver this news with grace, you know, in advance to our CEO. And I was really blindsided and jarred by the response we received from management, which was really hardcore union busting. I mean, our lawyer said it himself. He was like, this is the worst union busting I've ever seen. And it's shocking, again, as this is, you know, Sesame Street, right? This is a show that teaches all of us, right, the values of fairness, compassion, and care. So yeah, it did not, we were shocked as well.
So, and so what were some of the things that they did? Like, what were some of the obstacles that they put up to try to bust the union?
Well, first and foremost, you know, March 4th, we went public with our union, and then 100 employees were laid off the next day. I think it was a crash, but the thing is, six out of the seven speakers at our block party were laid off, which felt a little coincidental. So that was kind of the first obstacle, I would say. But moving
And when you say
forward,
the 6 of the 7 speakers at your block party were laid off, that the block party is where you announced publicly that you were
correct.
going to be unionizing. And so 6 of the 7 public faces of the union campaign were let go. And
Yep,
so
the next day.
the next day. Yeah, that seems to me not to be coincidental either.
Yeah, and they were, I mean, they're amazing, right? They were so active in our campaign, and yeah, it makes me so upset just thinking about it. But that was a real big hurdle right at the beginning. Throughout that, however, right, they didn't voluntarily recognize our union. We had to go to an election, and it was just a drawn out process. Sesame Workshop's legal counsel drew out a hearing to 7.5 hours. They continued to take multiple breaks. They came late from those breaks. They showed up late the day of. No apology, nothing. We also saw throughout, you know, the weeks before the election, there were anti-union papers distributed around the office. We checked the printer. Sure enough, we found who printed it. It was titled No Union, and it was printed by someone who's not eligible to vote, who's not in the union, and happens to be the copywriter for our CEO. So, like,
Wow.
crazy
Yeah, so
coincidence.
where did that come from? Yeah.
Yeah, surprise. And then another horrible obstacle was that we had managers dissuading voters from voting yes. We had multiple accounts of folks coming to us saying, hey, I just got off this really crazy call, and, you know, so-and-so is saying, like, well, if you vote yes, I can't help you with this anymore. Or, you know, you're going to get this taken away. So yeah, there were a lot of obstacles, but at the end of the day, we persevered, we kept going, and we won our election with 74% of voters voting yes. So yeah, that's great.
It's really exciting. Your union is called the Sesame Workers Union. It is a part
Correct.
of the Office Office and Professional Employees International Union, OPEIU Local 153 in
Mhm.
New York. And I want to just stay on the union busting for a moment longer, because it is, you mentioned at the top of the interview that a lot of people who are involved in Sesame Street are unionized and have been unionized for a long time, like the writers, presumably with the Writers Guild, the puppeteers, presumably with SAG-AFTRA. And so why do you think they were so obstinate about trying to fight the union? Because it's not as if this is a company like that just has no experience with unions, and that this would be a total like kind of radical reshaping of how they have to do business. I mean, this is just really bringing the rest of you kind of in line with what so many other parts of the workforce deal with already. What was the motivation there, you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because, I went through a lot of archived episodes of Sesame Street and found very early on there were so many mentions of unions. I think my favorite example is Biff, who's a union member showing up to Hooper's store getting root beer for his union meeting. Unions are not a new thing for Sesame Street. They've been on the show, right? And behind the scenes, we work with unions on a daily basis. So it kind of added to that jarring effect of why Sesame Workshop is so opposed to having a union. I think it's a great question. I think I can only take a guess. My guess would be that they might see it as an attack right now. I know that there is a lot going on and that our management is stretched. I mean, we're all stretched thin. We're all dealing with a lot of pressure, especially after the layoffs, taking on so much more work. But I would say that they probably saw it more as an attack and just have remained on that defensive ever since, maybe due to the times, due to the fact that our CEO has been at the company for 20 years. Also, the organization has been around for 55 years. So change might be new and it might be startling, but I would say maybe it's just acting out of fear and thinking that OPEIU and SWU is, a foreign entity, that it's, going to burn Sesame Street to the ground, which is absolutely not the case. Like we are the workers behind it, and we're just asking for a seat at the table where decisions are made that impact us and our families. So yeah, I would base it on fear, but at the end of the day, we're excited to move forward, and we really want to collaborate with management, which is what we wanted since the beginning, so that we can all show up every day and just help kids grow smarter, stronger, and kinder, because we're all united by that message and that mission.
And so you won by 74%, the union election. The count was on Thursday. Was it a mail-in election, or how did that
Yes.
work? And like, how are y'all feeling after the win?
We feel great. It was a mail in election, so we had some remote workers mailing in ballots. We also had an election day in which I was an observer, which was fantastic. It felt great, even just being there on election day and seeing the voters come in wearing their pins proudly. It made me so happy. And I think at the end of the day, it's really just about, the strong relationships we've formed. Like, I can name probably all 107 members of this union because I just want to ensure that everyone has, access to great, wonderful protected benefits. Like, I think, I always like to say, like, C is for community. Like, our union is the people in our neighborhood. So we're feeling really great. We feel that, like, this is just after so much union busting that we face, this is just such a prime example of how, like, when you join together and hold hands with your community, like, nothing bad can happen, right? How, like, it's only good things can happen when we all come together and move forward and support one another, even during these trying times. So, yeah, we feel good. We feel refreshed. And we look forward again to working with Sesame Management because we're still committed to our work every single day. And we're committed to, yeah, just showing up and helping kids.
And so what happens now that you've won the election? What are the next steps?
Yeah, I think in the immediate future, we have 7 days. Given how much union busting has occurred, how many, times Sesame Workshop's legal counsel and representative have tried to turn away voters, we are obviously nervous that they will try to contest the election results as they've already meddled with the election. So we are keeping an eye on that 7 day window, which would be next Thursday. But after that, we're really looking forward to really just having our, open conversations with our colleagues and checking in again. Hey, what are these issues we want to bring to the table to bargain collectively? This is not that this is the fun part, because it's all, very engaging and eye-opening, and I've learned so much, but this is the part where we can kind of finally reap a little bit of what we've sown, and really put our heads together and think about, what is it that we want in a contract? What is it that we want to enshrine in the contract and protect that we love about our jobs? And I think this is the part too where some of those no voters, we really want to engage them, because their voice matters too. We want everyone to feel as though they have a say in their working conditions, because at the end of the day, that's what a union's for. So we're really just looking forward to outlining our issues and moving forward with our contract. Yay!
All right. Well, let us know how that goes, and we'll look forward to touching base with you again once you ratify your new collective bargaining agreement. Adam Sancho from the Sesame Workers Union Organizing Committee, thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Looking forward to that follow-up conversation.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Really appreciated hearing that story and the story of perseverance, despite those odds, and taking the time to have those conversations. And like she said, you build those relationships and you really just come out so much stronger on the other end.
Absolutely.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.